Alright. Okay. So, you've made the unfortunate decision of speedrunning Bayou Billy. Maybe not. So, this guy is probably the weirdest fight game beginning here. What we're going for on him is to try to jump in a very specific way so that he does the same movement. A lot of this game is about trying to more or less predict what the RNG is going to do. It really only has like a few options that it can pick from if you get started on a fight quickly at the beginning of it. So what I'm trying to do is just jump in at a very specific angle to try to stun lock the enemy. And it's really not something that you can find just by kind of looking at it. I really can't really tell you exactly where those spots are, but I think if you kind of play around with it for a while like I did and just kind of like grind the fights out, you'll eventually kind of figure out exactly what you can do. Less screen. So the blue guys and the red guys both have kind of like what I would say is 5.5 health points or so. The blue ones actually have more like 525. Because the weird thing about this game is that the punch and kick do different values on certain enemies. So you really don't want to ever punch the red guy because the punch does not do enough damage. It only does like about 25% worth of a point of damage to him. Maybe a little more. You can just straight jump kick if you want, but it's like a couple of frames faster to use either the punch or the kick at some point in the fight, depending on which guy you're fighting. And so I'm just kind of trying to keep this guy stun locked, and then we're trying to like eliminate as much downtime between getting into the next fight. Like any time that they run away like that, it's a big time loss. So after you've gotten past this first initial part of the stage here, when we get to the part where we fight 3 guys at once, we are looking to try to set up for a skip, which is coming up after the gator section. And it is kind of based on what the gators are doing, but there's a way to actually avoid any of that and actually not have to worry about what the gators' patterns are. That's usually what I'm trying to aim for when I'm doing a run of this, although I'll show you the setup for the other way to do it too. But what we're trying to do is we want to be as far over to the right side of the screen when we start scrolling to go to the next area. And the reason for that is we're trying to get the hawk that flies by. We want to keep it on screen, the one that comes from the left side of the screen. We want to keep it on screen as long as we can, because its sprite will despawn one of the gators. And the reason why we want to despawn one of the gators is because it'll spawn another hawk that we're going to use to despawn a guy in the next section of the screen. So the hawk flies here. We have despawned one of the 3 gators, and then if we keep moving to the right, jump in the appropriate spots, despawn one of the three guys here. This is definitely a trick that you're going to want to hit if you're trying to go for a run. Not only faster, but it's a hell of a lot safer. Once we have the stick here, I'm trying to get on a plane with the enemy there, where I'm not on the exact level with him, but I can still hit him. So either just a slightly higher or slightly lower than him vertically. I don't think I have any save states for this first level, so I'll make one here. We get to the next screen. So there's there's two ways you can go about fighting this particular fight. You can let the screen scroll just a little bit, and if you don't walk past a certain point, you will not spawn the other two guys. You'll just fight that one guy individually. You don't feel like you're able to kind of beat him quickly enough before the other guys get involved. So I'm not going to do the hawk despawn here. So we've got all three guys here, so we need to wait a little bit. We're trying to get one of those gators to run off the side of the screen. See, like if I just stayed where I was when the screen scrolled there, I wouldn't have had to fight all three guys. I kind of like to fight all three of them at once because I'm trying to keep them close enough to each other that as soon as I defeat one of them, I'm already in the middle of fighting the next one. So I was at the edge of the screen. I got the other despawn. You don't have to actually do it super fast. You can stand there and wait all you want. In fact, you don't want to go as fast as you possibly can go because sometimes you'll not spawn the hawk. At this point, I just kind of like automatically go for it. You don't want these guys to be able to get to the other side of the screen. That's really bad. Over here, it costs a lot of time. So usually what I do when I'm trying to go for this is I'll kind of go up to the top and move my way down to the middle. But that doesn't always work. It's a very... I find this to be not a very good way to do this skip. Like the other way is way more efficient. But it's also kind of predicated on, are you able to get the health in position if you're going to need the health? Stuff like that. Can you keep the guys in position to where you can get over there fast enough? Yeah, it's all based on one of those gators' movement, and if you don't have good movement when you come into that spot, like you don't get the skip. But if you have the hawk, you don't have to worry about it all. Each gator like corresponds to a specific hawk that spawns on the screen, but the only one that we actually need to have is the one that comes from the left, because the right ones can't actually despawn. Oh yeah, they both went over to the left, both spawned. So let's talk about this fight. I guess I just did after I... Try and get it to where I've got like... Yeah, that'll work. So this fight, you want to hang out kind of down here at the bottom of the screen when you enter. What time you jump determines whether or not you're actually going to get hit by that rock. This is not a great example of this fight, but I would actually be pretty okay with that, because I didn't get knocked back too badly or have him run away really badly. But, this guy with the rock... We're looking to kind of stun lock him here on the bottom for as long as we can, but eventually he will move. We need to, and the amount of vertical movement that he does is completely random. So you just kind of have to more or less get used to like how quickly you're gonna move up, and you need to move up with him. And if you move up with him, you'll be able to get a couple extra hits in before he starts moving. At that point, you'll probably be in position to where the stick one, the guy that has the stick, will have moved over far enough from the left side of the screen. And then I usually just go ahead and stop worrying about the other stick guy. Like, yeah, so if you don't get the skip, you have to fight through. You don't want this. Yeah, we're just going over here. We're trying to get as many hits on this guy as we can. And then as soon as the bottom guy, the other guy from the left side of the screen comes over, we go fight him instead, because we want to get the stick, and we're also trying to kind of manipulate him to come after us over there on the edge of the screen. Same thing here with this knife guy. I'm kind of coming in at him, and I'm trying to get him into a plane. I can hit him, but I'm not actually like on the same front. So let's talk about the gator fight. Go ahead and get a save state there. Gator fight is about jumping into the water in the right spot. For my strategy. So, make a save state here. Okay. I'm trying to kind of do it like right about there. And then I kind of move Billy up a little bit while I'm fighting them, because I'm trying to manipulate the other one so that he comes up at a different time than the other one. I want to try to keep them out of sync with each other. The more out of sync the gators are, the better chance you have of being able to get multiple hits on both of them. And then, if you're trying to do this, you also need to know about how to get a double hit on the gators. So how to get a double hit on the gator is I'm waiting for a very specific like frame. He comes up to start my swing. And then as soon as that happens, I either will sometimes start mashing the button, or if you tap it fast enough, you'll be able to keep the stick coming out. Like, it's a very specific timing in order to be able to eliminate the downtime between stick hits. But you can just mash through it if you want to. The disadvantage with mashing is that sometimes the gators don't always sync up the way that you want to, and it's bad to get a double hit in those situations because it'll make you unable to be able to the other gator. Now, once the other gator gets into position, I'm kind of moving down with him, more or less focusing on him. Honestly, as long as you don't get knocked back too many times, as long as you don't get hit too much, like, and you kind of play it safe. Especially when, like, one of the gators gets behind you, you do have enough time to switch back and hit him, and then switch back and hit him. So there are several strategies that I use there depending on how they move. This fight's really easy. You just want to hit them twice with the stick, but you want to make sure that the second hit is when you're facing the direction so that you get guns. These spawns are completely random, the speed of which you'll get, so you kind of have to sort of get a feel of what's going to happen. They always spawn in the same spot, but the time that it takes for them to spawn is completely. That's pretty much this level. I don't use anything on the divers that I would consider like advanced tech. Pretty simple. Waiting for them to get into position so that I can get the guns, and then after I get the guns, I can go ahead and move forward. You have just enough ammo to be able to kill everybody. So these shooting stages more or less don't matter a whole lot. The boss at the end has random RNG as far as how long it will stay on the screen and allow you to shoot it. So sometimes you're just going to have to go fishing for a good pattern. I'm usually trying to miss at least one target here, because when you come into this screen, if you haven't done it correctly, they just won't start spawning because you've got multiple drops on the screen at once. You don't want that. There can only be like 3 sprites on screen at once. Like sometimes you can force a 4th one, but it's usually not an enemy. It's usually just an item to pick up, and they don't count towards that. When the screen stops, you have to fight a specific amount of enemies. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to leave some of these enemies on the screen so that when the screen stops and the gauntlet starts, where they start dropping, I can have all those enemies that were already on screen count towards that count. And here, we leave the guy that has the bomb for last. We don't actually kill him while he's on screen. Or, not the bomb, the guy that has the infinite ammo pickup. Kill the bomb guy after the infinite ammo guy's off screen, because we are trying to have the infinite count guy count towards that timer. Amount of guys that we need to kill. It's like 18 or something like that you have to kill. So yeah, that boss is just completely random. The only thing that you need to know is that you don't want to mash fire like as fast as possible. It's kind of a rip. So my strategy is usually to go into that bottom left corner, but because the knife is there, I'm not going to near it. I've already got the stick and I have body armor. So we're fine. I really want to kill this guy, Gator, before he gets behind me, especially if I've messed up my jump into the water here and not kept the second Gator off the screen. I don't really like to fight both Gators on a specific screen. Their positioning when they start makes it kind of difficult. To get them to cooperate at the same time. Yeah, you just want to kind of get in there and take it. Like, you can stun lock them pretty easily, but you just need to more or less kind of gauge, like, okay, I need to switch to the other guy. You don't want to just kind of beat up on one guy the entire time, because the other guy will jump you, or you'll just get unlucky. RNG will call for the counter. Go to the bottom of the screen on this boss, and then jump and kick him twice, and then I start spamming the kick button, and then as soon as I get the first kick on him, I start wiggling the D-pad back and forth between left and right. I think I have a save state just at the boss. No, I don't. I have one for... I think the second loop. Got more health there, I don't know about that. I'll split through them, hopefully I usually will practice this stage a couple of times before I do run. I have a couple of different strategies on this. I don't like to jump into the water. I just walk in. And yeah, we want to get 2 double hits on him so that we don't have to get behind us there, because if he gets behind us, then we're going to have to get the other Gator on the screen. Like, doesn't matter too much, but I think it just makes the fight a little bit easier on the second one. Kind of have 2 strategies with this. Sometimes if you can stun lock the first guy, you first like walk into the fight, keep him in position, go for that, and don't have the second guy run in. But if you can't, then go ahead and just run to the right all the way, and they'll kind of follow you. It's really where you want them to be at. I go to the bottom of the screen on this fight, and I'm trying. Usually do try to do that, where I'm moving up a little bit and then kind of just turning around when they get behind me. And I'm just spamming the stick the entire time. If I get the stick knocked out of my hands and it's those red guys, I always try to kick them when I don't have the weapon until I pick it back up. And yeah, it's just mash the stick button and hit left and right on the D-pad, and you'll be able to avoid him grabbing you. Driving stages. This first one is pretty much just about being in the center of the screen. After every turn, I pretty much try to just reset myself back in the middle. And there's really no RNG here. It's all more or less based on where your position is as Billy, where your Jeep's at, how you take the turns, where your position is, like, when they spawn, is pretty much, like, determine what their path is going to be. So if you're pretty good with your input, you should be able to do these driving stages pretty consistently. But yeah, you can only have one grenade out at a time. You can't shoot when the grenade's out. So I usually wait a very long time if I'm going to try and bomb the plane. Like, you really want to wait until they are right up on you. And if you're using sound cues, about the time you hear the plane's engine is when you can throw the grenade. Yeah, this first stage, it's pretty much all just stay in the middle. We move out of our obstacles if we need to. Now, so here, I go to the right, spawn that, this spot, and then we don't kill the first plane because it despawns the water that will be there otherwise, and you don't want that water, it'll slow you down. It's only like 0.3 second time loss or something like that, but it's easily avoidable. Driving stages are more or less, you're just going to have to practice them and practice them and practice them until you have muscle memory and you memorized like what's going to happen. There are some specific lines on this stage that I take though that I'll show you. But I'm sure there are other ways that work well too. So if you're shooting and you're not hitting him, let off the turn just for a frame. And it's very odd. Billy's guns don't exactly like work the way you think they would. Yeah, it's like just a single frame tap. Will usually give you the position you need. Again, this one's kind of more or less staying in the middle, but there's a couple of spots where you're going to want to be in certain positions. I try to be a little bit to the right here at the beginning so that we can get good shots on those three, and then I get to the left before the turn after you've killed all of them. Makes that turn better. More likely to be able to hit the guy. And then pretty much every turn after that is we want to be just slightly to the right of the white line. We're still in the middle, but we're just slightly to the right. Yeah, I do. And yeah, we're just kind of resetting back to the middle on the turn when we have the opportunity to. This turn right here, try and get as far left as you can. It'll either throw him off to where he won't hit you, or it'll put him in position to where you can shoot him. And this turn is about impossible to do at full speed if you're not all. You're either going to hit a car or you're going to hit a pole. Doesn't matter, like, but yeah, the red ones, just remember that they'll they'll come back from behind you, but they're always going to come back from behind in the same position that they went off the screen on. You just need to avoid that position of the screen. Just slightly to the right here. Kill these three, we get to the left. Really, you want to keep one tire on the line. And then every part after this, we keep one tire on the line. Start the turn, and then I go wide left here. I don't kill this red Jeep because it despawns some of the blue Jeeps that happen up here. And again, we're getting just a little slightly to the right on the line. It allows us to be able to shoot those guys before the turn starts. Also gives us just enough space to where we don't run off the road or into the pole. Same thing here, just slightly to the right. Shoot, throw the grenade immediately after you the helicopter's there. Sometimes it's kind of weird. This turn, again, I'm positioned over to the right, and then when the turn starts, I like flick to the right on the D-pad just and fire, and then flick to the left, flick to the right, fire, flick to the left, flick to the right. And like, you kind of want to just tap the opposite direction when you're turning at the very end there. Seems to help with like getting the Jeep in position to actually shoot the other Jeeps, and it doesn't throw you off the road. So if you've made it to this stage and you have not died, you will still have the stick, which is very nice. So these despawns are actually pretty easy to do. When you start the stage off and you actually get controllability, you want to start kind of moving the diagonal pattern. If you don't do it correctly, you're going to get the despawn. But generally, I usually try to stop at about this pole. And then, yeah, you just kind of up and down, up and down. And then if you start to see a guy, it gets on the screen a little bit. If you can move, you don't want to like do it super fast. You kind of still want to go with the groove that you had. But if you see a guy get on the screen, just a tad. And then start kind of jiggling when you get into a position that he's not vertically aligned. Kind of jiggle. He won't actually move forward. Right there. Oh. This fight is very important for you to get a good fight in it. So what I'm trying to do here is I stop at about this kind of like thick bar on the window behind us. That's usually the plane that I use. And then I wait for him to swing at me, and then after he swings at me, I kind of jiggle like a little bit more and go for it. And you can start swinging at this guy even if you see the shadow on the other side of the screen. So, this fight, we've got the two whip guys that come down. And they're a nuisance. The biggest like run ender for me on this stage is trying to hold on to enough health, because that health drop that we just got on the two ball and chain guys before we do this fight here, that's all we're gonna get. And if you've done the stage well enough to that point, you probably don't even need that health. You're probably just gonna leave it there. So you gotta beat this stage with no health. So we're going to despawn these guys. So how this despawn works is it's sort of based on your position when the screen begins to scroll. So I try to get myself in a position there where the screen kind of scrolls in a very quick, jerky fashion. And usually you can get that by standing in a specific position to kill this guy. And so the way that this trick works is I'm trying to get my mouse cursor. Okay. No, it's alright, well, I'll just kind of point it out to you. So, when I walk into the area where the balcony guys drop from, I'm swinging the stick kind of like right where this window is. There's kind of like a black line right after the bricks before the white starts. I'm aiming to put Billy right there when I swing the stick. And you have to have the stick in order to be able to do this way. Yep. Now, you don't necessarily have to do that exact lineup. It's a very, very weird fight. And this is really the only one that works this way, which is also kind of even weirder. So if anybody can figure out why this is the way it is, let me know. But you can swing pretty much anywhere. Doesn't really matter. But the second guy, you do specifically need to swing in a circle. And it seems to me like the position of like where that spot is changes depending on where you spawn the first guy at. Also, you don't need a 100% perfect fight here to do this. Kind of makes it much less likely for it to happen. Was able to get the second guy, though. I would consider that to be good enough to continue the run, sure. Yeah, it's like right under this banner. Like right at the edge here where Billy, like the tip of Billy's hat would be about where I swing. You don't have to have the exact vertical placement either. Like you can kind of do it anywhere vertically. I just moved to where I do to use the background as a guide to where I need to swing at. But yeah, if you don't get the other one, it's not. Now, if you don't have the stick, then you'll have to do what the pass does. Which I may not even try. Got one of them. So, the task just sort of walks in a specific spot, which is kind of like right about here. It's sort of like in the middle of this window area. Then you just stop, and then you turn left for a frame, and then you walk right again. Pretty hard to do. Stick is a lot easier. sticks like, at least for the second guy, I think it's just one frame perfect. Whereas, yeah, the Tastra. This fight is a very interesting fight. I'll show you what it's like normally. Sorry about that. Still in a pretty good position where I think I'm gonna go. Yeah, you just need to practice it. It's pretty simple, though. So this fight, when you come in here, sometimes this guy on the left side doesn't come in. It's very weird. But like when I first picked up this run, I saw people were still doing, you know, this to kind of like prevent that guy from left from coming in. You don't really need to. He's very... It's kind of a luck thing, I think, a little bit, but what seems to help with it is coming in, doing the diagonal walk, and then as soon as you hit him, you stop, and you just keep hitting. And yeah, got more of these despawn. This one, it's kind of like just at the end of this shutter here, or the bricks, and like it actually, the window seems to go out where that black line is at the top row of the set of bricks before it goes full to screen. So you just kind of need to swing the stick somewhere in like this region, and if you walked onto the screen and held right and not moved vertically at all, once the screen has locked in position for this fight, you should be able to get it. This next fight, I have two setups for this. Setups are this one where you kick as soon as the guy up top runs on screen. Then I swing the stick right after I kick, and then I kick again. Then we walk to the right side of the screen, and walk back to the left. And then, if you've done it right and you have the right vertical position, you want to swing the stick like just a little bit past the shutter, and the guy will walk on the screen. Other setup you could use is to try to do the task strat, in which the line that we're aiming for is this window just above Billy's head here. There's a black line in between the shutter and the actual window. That's about the line where I try to put the middle of Billy's hat at. And works the same way as the other one. You stop for a frame, turn left, and turn right, and keep walking. And then you can actually get the other guy as well sometimes by stopping in the right place. So again. So like I didn't get the first one, but I got the second one. I don't like going for the task. It's pretty difficult to do. But that is the setup if you want to try to do it. So like the first one is about here. Second one's about here. Turn back. And then what happened in the Sub 19 run is actually what the current task, which is he gets the despawns while he's swinging the stick at this guy. And to be honest with you, it was 100% luck. I have not practiced that, so I don't really know how to do it. The strat that I usually use here is this, but I only go for it if it's like gonna help save me some time that I've lost earlier in the stage because I didn't get the idea that. Like, my strategy in that moment, when I got to this point of my run, was to just go ahead and do the strategy of just fighting this guy for the drop. And if you do it right, you don't really get hit by these guys. But I haven't practiced it a whole lot. Like, it's been a long time. Yeah, more or less this is what you kind of run down, get in your way, beat them up until they run away, and then back to the other guy. But what I usually do to try to get the setup that I want here, remember, we move forward while we're swinging this guy. You want to take a 7th swing. Yeah, you want to keep moving to the right so that the other guy won't. But even if he does hit you, like, that's still pretty good. Pretty. Yeah, it's kind of moving. Get the corner. More despawns here. Two setups for this guy. One I used in the current strategy isn't that. This is a strategy that I used to use. The reason why we run by this guy is because if you just kill him, another one will spawn at the end of the screen when you get to it. But he doesn't spawn if you run to the edge of the screen while the other guy's still. And we want to fight as few of these Marnie guys as possibly can. They are going to hit you, almost sure. You take 9 hits to kill. So I usually try to do about 7 or 8, and then I run over here. Turn back around. You basically want to start moving up and down like this soon as the screen stops scroll. Guys. Yeah. I find that if you have about 4 health, you start this section, you'll probably be okay. There's a certain rhythm that you can get into where they won't hit you, but it's pretty tight, and it changes. You kind of have to spawn next to the guy. But that right there is usually like the run killer. If you don't have enough health to get through that, you're probably dead. This stage is kind of more or less the same thing as the previous shooting stage. Biggest difference is that health is at a premium in this. So I really do want to kill people as quickly as possible, but I'll give you a little bit of a tip. If you can avoid having too many enemies run off the screen and despawn here at the beginning, you'll get a health drop at some point. That is not a good That is not a good example like what you do there, though. So let me do it again. So if you've got pretty decent amount of health, you haven't gotten shot too many times here at the beginning, there's a way that you can speed these shooting sections up. I talked about it a little bit in the jungle stage. Or this one. You want to keep several guys on screen. It prevents this guy from spawning, and you might be able to get a couple of the guys that we killed there to count towards. Yeah, I got quite a few. But yeah, I lost a lot of health. But if you don't shoot any of the manhole covers and you get the extra life, it'll put you on the right item drop, RNG list. Get the health drop. It's kind of weird. There's like a... It still counts against you if you shoot targets that... it doesn't count against you if you just fire the gun. But if you shoot targets that aren't enemies, but still count as a target, so item pickups, the triggers that spawn the 1-ups, those count as things that will advance the item drop table. Also not 100% sure on that, like this is mostly speculation, but I think I'm right on. I try to leave a little bit of extra ammo for this boss because its movement patterns are random as well. Focus on the first guy, gun, because there's no way to prevent him. And then you just want to kind of keep... I kind of use like sharp angled movements on that guy to get him into position. Get the cursor in position to shoot him. Start of this stage, go to the bottom. Load it again so I can show you again. Setup is, as soon as we have movement ability, we go to the bottom of the screen. And as soon as the guy walks off from the other side of the screen, we want to get enough of him to where the gun will be pick-upable when he drops it. You don't want to like immediately hit him after spawn, because if you do that, the gun will drop off the other side of the screen a little bit. Grab him. And then shoot the other guys after you got the gun. I want to get that stick guy to hit me with the stick. Let it break. Didn't get any, didn't get hit, so I didn't harm. So I'll have to Gordon in that specific scenario. Yeah, there's spots that I'm standing in. So this one, you kind of want to be like just slightly below that guy. Whip. That'll make it so that the other dude hits you with the stick. And then yeah, ideally there, you kind of just want to stand in with those guys after you knock their arm off while you're shooting them, so that you get hit, lose your armor. You want to grab the knife and throw it away. The reason for that is Gordon's henchmen will have a lot less health. You don't have any equipment. there's a couple of different ways you can do this fight. That, so run, run away or dodge. Try to aim for that line that I just used. It's really the only way that I can describe how to do this fight. If you do that, it'll get you about 6 hits on the red guy, and then you want to go immediately to the left. And the way that I do that is just I jump kick through. If you get grabbed by them, you can. It's not a left to the right on the D-pad like it is on the other guys that grab you in this game. It's actually like a full quarter circle. Yeah, you don't want to jump into them. Like, you want to hit your line, and it's kind of hard to describe, but like the lineup that I'm using, I'm trying to get Billy up the part of the background. And you need to do it faster than that. I like to come from the top of the screen and go down. It seems to put them in the right position. You can also do this from the bottom of the screen too. That's not a good enough line, but again, if you kind of just run to the left, if like when the other guy gets in the way, he'll just kind of go do his own thing somewhere else. You focus on the red guy for a little bit until he'll come back down. Hopefully by then, either beaten the red guy or he needs like one more hit. My setup that I got. Yeah, like usually what I do is I'll walk down here, wait, just like a frame or two. Yeah, if he grabs you, just quarter circle out of it, try to kick him. Didn't wait, didn't get it. That's okay, we've gone to the left. Now we need to go to the right. Probably dead. Oh yeah. What strategy? No. That's another thing you can do, is sometimes you can get them locked into a pattern with the punch or the kick if you're not super great at doing this. This is another thing that a lot of this is just you're gonna have to practice a lot. Oh, more or less. This fight's scary because it comes at the end of the run. It's very specific. There's a couple of different ways to do it, but pretty tough. I'll tell you, I've had a lot of runs die to this. I had a run that could have been a lot better than what I've currently gotten. The world record die to that. No joke. Gordon's henchman will most likely end a couple of your runs. Alright. Well, that's an hour-long Bayou Billy tutorial if you really want it. There it is. Feel free to send me messages on speedruns or on Twitch if you have any questions or want any extra advice on anything that I didn't mention here in the video. I'm always willing to help out people get started on any of the games that I've ran. One of the things that I like about speedrunning the most is how kind of cohesive the community is as far as we're all working together to lower the time. So, any eyeballs, any new funds on the game, I'm happy to see. Just stand for that. Do some Akari.